What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another fire episode of Gold School Retro NBA, where I'll be here to talk about one of the NBA greats that doesn't get talked about and was the Larry Bird killer and the Boston Celtics killer. Andrew, the Boston Strangler, Toney. That's right, I said it. Andrew Toney. If you guys don't know who he is, I suggest you stay tuned this episode. And for those of you that do, I'm going to relive a lot of memories for you guys. So let's get it started. What I liked about Andrew Toney, man, was he was just a gritty shooting guard. This guy would take over games by himself, and that's why they nicknamed him the Boston Strangler, because in the playoffs, if you ask Danny Ainge, they didn't say that Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and all these other NBA greats that they had to face were the toughest. He has said that Toney was the toughest guy to guard because this guy could take over games. And this is what he was known for. He was a microwave bucket. And, not only was he a great scorer, man, this guy was scrappy. Like, he would die for loose balls. And he was just a glue guy because, you could put him at that. He could play the shooting guard. He could play the point guard a little bit if you need him to and play make. And he was a really underrated passer and a solid rebounder for the guard position. With his frame at size 6'3" and 178, he played the shooting guard position. He was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, where he would play his high school ball at Charles B. Glenn High School, where he started at. He would go on to get recruited and would join Southwestern Louisiana and play his college ball there. He would go on to start his whirlwind tour in the NBA, where he would be selected in the first round, pick number 8 by the Philadelphia 76ers. And let me tell you something, if you don't know the Philadelphia teams back in the 80s, they were very good, man. They had the lights out scoring of Bobby Jones. They were coached by the iconic Billy Cunningham, who I'll be covering in a future episode. And they had Moses Malone and Mo Cheeks and one of the greatest dunkers and scorers of all time, Dr. J, Julius Erving. So him joining all those elite players just accelerated that Philadelphia 76ers team because it was just good from top to bottom. I think a lot of people don't notice the team that actually wasn't the ones that called them the Boston Strangler. It was actually Boston sports writers due to the rivalry of the 76ers and the Boston Celtics and how he would take over games and just basically put Larry Bird in a chokehold and the Boston Celtics and would knock them out of the playoffs, and plenty of games they would lose due to the efficiency and the scoring and just the multi-playmaking tools of Andrew Toney, because this guy got hot, and when he got hot, he could not be stopped. One of the games I'm going to talk about is that Game 7 against the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, where in Game 7 he took over and scored 34 points. Here's a clip of that iconic series, and so you guys can see a glimpse of the greatness of Andrew Toney.
With Mo Cheeks and Andrew Toney, it may not be key in this series. Harris double team in trouble. Henderson inside. Blocked by Julius Erving. Toney with an easy bucket. And it's the defense of Dykes, who scored 18 points and had 10 assists yesterday afternoon, has averaged 5 more points in this series than he did in the regular year.
Now this is what Billy Cunningham does not like. He likes that part.
To Jones. Jones sets a screen, fighting through. Paris gets the return on the pick and roll. Starting when Tiny went out with a wrist injury. Toney in a crowd recovers nicely and gets the bucket. So Toney now has 6 of the Philadelphia 10 points and 3 for 3 shooting.
Now did a great job with San Antonio this year too.
Yes, he did.
You know, Gaggy has a good year. He gets to the final Western Finals and he loses 4 straight, and people think, well, they had a bad year. They had a
pass that Irving had it and lost, and here's Henderson back, 4-on-1. Now a turnover. Tiny Archibald is Bill mentioned at the outset. Off the side of the board, another break, 2-on-1. Toney, Cheeks blocked by Henderson. They call a foul.
goaltending.
No, goaltending. You're right. Foul game for Philadelphia. Ford is on Toney. Toney much quicker than Ford. Pick and roll, executed. Philadelphia lead. Under 9 minutes to play in the first half. Philadelphia had a 17-point lead at one point and 12 in the quarter. Toney is awfully quick.
Now Chris Ford did what he was supposed to do, the right kind of help. But then he fouled him.
He's determined to go in with it. Toney, 13 seconds on the shot clock. Julius.
Toney has he's blocked off, so he gives it to Julius, who makes the penetration.
The offensive rebound. Brody is short. Cheeks comes up with a good rebound with a lot of big people around him. Bo Cheeks, the heart and soul as it's developing in this club. Unexpected in this series. We have seen it every game. Steal. Cheeks. 3 seconds to go. Toney gets the bucket at the hand. Has 12 points, but he'll be in before long. Andrew Toney working against ML Carr. Maxwell comes in. Toney outside. More offense than defense. He has matured this year and really has developed. For starting those 28 games helps him. Andrew Toney, what can we say about him? Great rookie last year, has 18 points, 8 for 12 shooting. They want to get Andrew open. He's been hot. All those Jones over Robert Harris. He's got to take that shot. Toney gets the offensive board and body zones.
Keep him from getting the ball any place, and he was out of position when the shot was taken.
Bird was 2 for 8 in the first half, 3 for 3 this half. Coming around a screen, Toney over Carr, Andrew Toney.
You get 3 seconds call quite a bit.
Toney inside here against Carr.
See, Carr's trying to deny the ball.
Just pure hustle by Andrew Toney. 4:35 remaining, third period. 8-point Philadelphia lead. They're up at 1 point by 17, but the Celtics came back to tie it up. Toney to the hoop. Looks in. Oh, Will Jones, but he can't make it in Paris. Toney takes up the loose ball. Goes inside and is 6 against the Lakers. Out of Southwest Louisiana.
And well.
Cheeks. Henderson, good defensive job on Maurice. 2 seconds on the shot clock. And Toney with 1 last year. Andrew Toney's hit his last 4 shots. 10 of 14 for the game. Going up again. And again.
When they got the long rebound, the Curry was off and running.
Under a minute to go in the third period. Bird now with 3 fouls in his lip yesterday. Here in the lead. Starting the Lionel Hollins out with a minute remaining in the third period. 13-point Philadelphia lead. Toney. 11 for 16 from the field, 7 or 8 from the line. 3 rebounds and 5 assists.
And he's shooting the lights out today.
And he really can. The rebound. 11-point lead for Philadelphia. Boston has not led. They tied it up 25 in Boston Wednesday. But a good steal by Maxwell. 3-on-2. Pass all the way. Blocked by Bobby Jones, who came back in the game and saved brilliantly by Andrew Toney. Toney found himself in the first row.
Human being.
Yes, he is. Look at this action. Maxwell on the ground. Toney on the ground. And it isn't over yet. Toney gets up. And Maxwell again. 3 team fouls on the Celtics. Toney in the lane. And they go for him. And the 14th foul on Boston. Toney and Chris Ford now. Doesn't matter, does it? Ties the playoff high, 35 for Andrew. And he's doing it himself on offense. 14 of 19 from the field. They get a foul call against Abe. Couldn't do it. And there's Danny. In the interest of family television, we cut it off there. Biggest lead of the game. 18, now 19. 17-point deficit with 5 minutes to go. They've got to do it, but they've got to start it with defense. And
He's trying to play more than the referee with it.
just saw Toney on the bench. Out with a dislocated.
Man, oh man, I know after you guys saw that, you guys basically just took witness to what I was talking about previously about Andrew Toney. Because when you talk about that Philadelphia 76ers team, I feel like his name doesn't get talked about a lot. I know everybody loves Dr. J and Bobby Jones and Mo Cheeks and Moses Malone, but if it wasn't for Andrew Toney being a part of that iconic team, I highly doubt that they actually win that title because he was the big reason why they did. And 39 points as well in Game 4. He also put up monstrous numbers of 26.4 points per game in that series versus Celtics en route to the NBA Finals versus the Los Angeles Lakers. In the 1981 and 82 season, Andrew Toney was second in three-point percentage, following up 6th in three-point percentage. Not only that, he was also named to 2 All-Star selections in 1983 and 1984. And he finished with a career total of 15.9 points per game. So that goes to tell you, man, this guy just basically worked hard and grinded to where he was at to make himself a two-time All-Star and to be a part of and to be a big piece of that iconic championship team. Salute to the Boston Strangler, man, because his name rings bells like Sunday at 12 o'clock. Also in that 1982-83 season, he was an integral part of that championship team. Mind you, he was averaging 20 points a game. And let me tell you something, when they faced that Lakers team, this guy was a bucket, man. I'm talking about he put up 24.4 points, 7 assists, and 2.5 rebounds. So it goes to show you the work and the dedication he put into the NBA Finals and helping the Philadelphia 76ers win the illustrious title that year. You guys also got to remember, they were going up against a powerhouse Lakers team that featured Jamal Wilkes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bob McAdoo in the latter end of his career. And they had Michael Cooper, and they had a slew of others, James Worthy, Magic Johnson. And I'm talking about these teams, the Showtime Lakers, were not easy to beat. And the Philadelphia 76ers would reach to that mountaintop, and they would win that title. And Andrew Toney's a big part of that. Unfortunately, after spending 7 years with the Philadelphia 76ers, he's one of the legends that fell through the injuries, just like Brandon Roy, Danny Granger, and a slew of others. He would suffer from 2 major foot injuries that would have him have his career cut short. And the Philadelphia 76ers didn't believe that he was really hurt before that. So it led to some bitterness in between the organization and Andrew Toney. After that, they found out that he had 2 stress fractures in both of his feet. So basically, it turned out to be more serious than what they thought because they didn't think it was. And it led to a lot of bitterness in between the front office and Andrew Toney, as I stated before. Pat Williams, who worked for the Orlando Magic at the time, shared an anecdote story where he basically was working for ESPN Cleveland. He was a part owner in the rivalry at the time. He was in management with the Lakers and the 76ers at the time. And he asked Danny Ainge, who was the hardest player to guard. And Danny Ainge responded, it wasn't Magic, it wasn't Kareem. It was no other than the Boston Strangler, Andrew Toney. So for him to be put up in those iconic names and to be put up there as one of the toughest players to guard shows you how much of a bucket, how much of a great player Andrew Toney was, despite all the hills he had to battle through injuries and having his career cut short. And as you guys don't know, Pat Williams, he actually wrote a book on Chuck Daly, and you guys should check out. It's pretty dope. I mean, Chuck Daly is one of the most iconic coaches with the Bad Boy Pistons, and I'm going to be doing a lot of tributes in the future for iconic coaches and showing them love, because when we think about the players, we don't think about the coaches that led them to greatness and helped them up their game. And Chuck Daly was one of those with the Bad Boys team, so I suggest you guys check that out. There's a book by Pat Williams, and it's a Chuck Daly autobiography. Williams also stated in another interview that if it wasn't for injuries, Andrew Toney would be a Hall of Famer. And that's rightfully so, because Andrew Toney was just like, he was a phenomenal player, man. And I can't disagree with that. If you guys haven't watched him, I suggest you do. You watch this video, you're gonna come away with a lot, and you're gonna see the videos, the clips of what he did in the playoffs. And Pat Williams was right about that, because I think even with the injuries and everything, I still feel like he should be at least in the consideration to be in the Hall of Fame. It just sucks because injuries ravaged his career, man. I just think it cut his career so short, because he probably would have been a Hall of Famer for sure. Also, former teammate Charles Barkley, another Hall of Famer, who I'll be doing a tribute for in a future episode, also said he was the best teammate he ever played with. So when you get love from an iconic player like Charles Barkley, you can't go wrong with that, man. It just shows you how good Andrew Toney was. Post-retirement, after his injuries ended his career short, his son Channing played NCAA Division I and played for the University of Alabama. He also played overseas in Poland. And not only was he a great iconic basketball player with sons that actually joined in the game and played overseas and played college ball in D1, he also became a school teacher, and that's what he does right now, residing in the area of Atlanta and teaching and guiding our youth and our children of today. So it goes to show you he's a winner on and off the court. And this is the reason why Andrew Toney is so beloved to this day, and this game is just not talked about enough. But that's where I come into play, because you got to give the Boston Strangler the love that he deserves. Toney finished his career totals with 7,458 points, 4.2 assists, and 2.2 rebounds per game. 79% from the free throw line and 50% shooting. And check this out, in 72 career playoff games, Toney averaged 47% shooting from the field, 29.8 minutes per game, 78% from the line, 23% from downtown, and 78% from the free throw line. 4.5 assists and 2.3 boards a night, while averaging a very, very solid 17 points per game in the playoffs. So this is going to conclude episode 25 of Gold School Retro NBA. Andrew, the Boston Strangler, Toney. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you do so. Tap the link, the notification, and hit that notification bell. And don't forget to smash that like button at the end of this video and share with your family, friends, and anybody that loves historic hoops talk. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Gold School Retro NBA. And thank you for always showing me love and support. Stay tuned to the next episode as this wraps up. Andrew, Toney, the Boston Strangler, episode 25. One love, y'all.